Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today, as I thought it would be beneficial to do a special podcast focusing on the energies of Saturn in Pisces and how it will be working with all 12 astrology signs. So this will be a look at how Saturn in Pisces will be interacting with planets in Taurus, planets in Scorpio, planets in Virgo, planets in Sagittarius. We'll go through all 12 astrology signs, and it's a way to give you a heads up on what this Saturn in Pisces energy will be bringing up for you based on your own chart. So this could be useful to have your chart handy as I go around the zodiac wheel and discuss what Saturn is requiring you to assess, to let go of, and to take responsibility for. Now, those are just the general terms. I'll go into it a little bit more here shortly. But I also wanted to note that this energy is going to be really important because Saturn in Pisces is following behind Neptune in Pisces. And Neptune first entered Pisces in 2011, and both Neptune and Saturn are going to be coming up against the same degree points and traveling closely together in 2025, and then they both will be conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries, and that will happen twice in 2025 and exactly conjunct in February 2026 at 0 degrees of Aries. So it's important to note that that's what's coming up on the horizon, because as Saturn in Pisces is traveling behind this Neptune, it's bringing up things that maybe have been floating around, that have been unfinished, that have felt like it's just outside your aura, just outside your energy field. It's the energy of Saturn wanting you to make decisions, to get something figured out. And it's an interesting mix because Saturn is about form and structure. Saturn is about what's man-made, what is tangible, what is physical. And it's in Pisces and following behind Neptune in Pisces, which is formlessness, which is transcendence and dissolving, which is removing form and allowing it to simply be, to simply float, to simply fly away even. So there's an energy signature here that brings up even more uncertainty, confusion, even disassociation, feeling like, I don't know what to choose. I don't know what to do with this. I'm not sure which direction to go. I don't know what the right choice is. What are the facts? What is real? And this is a big energy in the collective field, but it's also working with each of us because part of the higher Pisces push, the higher Pisces intention is for us to go higher, to transcend what we can see, touch, feel, even what we think, to go above into the higher realms of energy, of intuition, of your imagination and creation potentials that can be realized. So there's a really interesting dance here where our humanness is aware and sensing things that are in a closing out cycle. And we're aware of that at some level of our being. We're seeing that. This is the energy of degeneration. This is the energy of detaching and releasing from what the ego or what a part of our life has been built on or grasped to. This is where also Saturn in Pisces makes things visible that have been invisible. Because again, Saturn is form and structure, and it brings things to light, and it will show some more of what we didn't initially see as Neptune and Pisces was removing, closing, and dissolving. And so now what we have here is the Saturn coming through and asking us to make a decision, make a commitment, to understand what needs to be cleaned up, what needs to be finalized, what needs to be completed. And that is one of the bigger intentions as well in the Pisces energy, that is about allowing a cycle to close out. And so understanding some of these bigger themes can help with understanding what might be coming up for you as Saturn moves through Pisces and interacts with planets or points in each of the 12 astrology signs. So this will be general, but I hope it gives you insight into what might be a productive use of the energy, what helps you focus in on the themes, on the choices, on where you are shifting and changing something in your reality. Pisces is about rising above the immediate, rising above the ego, rising above the mental. So these are decisions or choices, actions that could feel like they're out of your immediate control because they're part of a bigger cycle. And they're part of a bigger cycle that will be closing out in 2025 and into 2026. So that's the theme here, is endings. But if you can see it from an energetic level, it means that there are some significant energies on our planet that have served their purpose, and they're meant to dissolve. They're meant to be completing. This can certainly relate on a personal level to karma, to soul lessons, to soul contracts, to things you've been moving through that have been requiring you to deeply release. And if that is coming up for you, especially emotionally and personally, there are many energy tools you can employ to work with that intention. For example, you can do EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique. And there are many free videos on YouTube. I always recommend Brad Yates because he focuses in on a particular feeling, situation, or emotion, and he helps you authentically work with that energy as well as to transmute it. You can also practice Ho'oponopono, which is a prayer that helps with forgiveness, moving negative emotions through your body and your energy systems, addressing anything that is difficult, that's bringing up grief, because part of surrendering brings up loss and grief and those themes. It can bring up regret. It can bring up things that you're trying to maneuver through, but maybe you don't feel so graceful. It doesn't feel so simple or easy. So this is a prayer that can help with seeing the beauty in what is, while also honoring what is leaving, where that loss is, where that regret, or where the energies are showing you a sense of disempowerment. This would be a way of connecting to the beauty of forgiveness and acceptance. So just a few things to share with you here before we dive into how this Saturn in Pisces will be highlighting these themes for you. Another area that's very important to look at in your chart is the house that transiting Saturn is moving through, as that is the area of life where these lessons, themes, and energies are showing up for you. So wherever you have Pisces by house or houses is where Saturn is moving through and requiring you to let go, requiring change, requiring an opening of some kind. And this can feel like less. Saturn in Pisces can feel like, I have to give this up, I have to donate this, I have to let this go. And part of the intention is to open up space, to allow a void for the new cycle of energies to arrive when the planets move into Aries. So understanding that is the intention is also where we can go higher into our spiritual mastery and trust, knowing that everything changes, everything ends, everything is designed to ebb and flow and change. Even something that seems impossible, it seems like it would never evolve, it would never move. Well, it too has a consciousness that is designed to evolve in some fashion or in some way. So here we have opportunities to approach this energy cycle with greater intentionality, with greater awareness, with greater consciousness that this is what Saturn in Pisces is requiring us to do. And how we show up is, of course, our choice. But I hope this helps you in understanding the bigger picture of it all. So let's begin with planets in Aries. And obviously, Pisces is before Aries. So Saturn in Pisces is actually working deep in your consciousness around what you want to intentionally begin when Saturn moves into Aries in 2026. So it is important for those planets in Aries to slow down right now and to look at where the impulsiveness might be showing up, where the impatience is arising, to understand that because Saturn is working in the deeper recesses of your mind, you could be feeling something intuitively that is creating a pause. That you're like, maybe I should sit with this. Maybe I should really look at how much this means to me. Is this something I only want to get started this week? Or is it something I want to develop for a while? And so there is less of a pressure right now on those planets in Aries. They aren't being directly impacted by Saturn in Pisces, so to speak. But you could be feeling a semi-square, which is when two planets are 45 degrees apart. And Saturn in Pisces is in a semi-square with that north node in Aries. And that again could feel like the frustration, the slowdown, again, bringing in greater intentionality and really understanding, am I trying to make it happen? Am I forcing this to happen? Because there is a required trust and flow with Pisces, and Saturn is about timing. So the Aries planets might be feeling that there isn't as much wind behind your back, there isn't as much gas in the gas tank to move ahead on something, as that Saturn in Pisces will move through, creating some semi-square aspects and bringing up an opportunity for you to sit with something instead of taking action on it right away. Now, planets in Taurus are receiving a lot of support now from this Saturn in Pisces. Previously, when Saturn was in Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius was squaring those planets in Taurus, which would have been the blocks, the frustration, the slowdown. It would have been something that you couldn't get going, or you felt like it just took too much for it to move. Now that Saturn is in Pisces and sextiling the planets in Taurus, there's something that you're seeing in a new light, and you're trusting yourself more. You're trusting more of what you want, what you desire. And that Saturn in Pisces could be bringing in some new options or openings that the Taurus energies wouldn't normally see. And that's because sometimes that Taurus energy can be overly focused or fixated on one particular path or outcome or way to go. And now we have Saturn in Pisces supporting perhaps multiple ways of trusting yourself and following something forward. Now, those Taurus energies have been through a lot, because depending on where you have a Taurus planet or more than one, you would also be experiencing how that Uranus in Taurus has really thrown everything up into the air, not to mention the previous cycle of eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio. So safe to say, planets in Taurus have been through a lot. You've been through a lot that has been destabilizing and disruptive, that has taken you out of what you've known or what your comfort zone is. And now I feel that this Saturn in Pisces wants to reassure you, wants you to exhale, release, trust that you haven't lost what's truly yours, and that there's something here where it's okay to give yourself a break, because the Taurus energy sometimes won't stop, right? Can't stop, won't stop, keeps going. And this is an opportunity to allow yourself to listen and receive, because that's when you're going to get the new downloads for those creative inspirations. So there is a receptive energy here, and there's a creativeness that can come through in perhaps more of a soft or gentle manner. Taurus also has the Jupiter influence right now that's in play until May 2024. And this is going to bring in more opportunities, abundance, and buoyancy. And we have some really beautiful connections underway with that Saturn in Pisces sextiling Jupiter in Taurus. So overall, it feels like the Taurus energies are going to be gaining new traction, creating new foundations, really stabilizing more, but in a refreshed manner. And there's something that could be showing up for you that's giving you a sense of quiet peace and trust in the process that you're moving through. Planets in Gemini. Planets in Gemini are receiving a square from this Saturn in Pisces. It's what's called a closing square. And what that means is that there's some things that you're being required to let go of and to release yourself from. Even if you have lots of ideas or plans, they're being tested. They're being tested, and you could feel a lack of trust in yourself. You could be going back and forth around what's the best choice, what's the right direction and right path. And the Saturn and Pisces energy could feel like whatever you choose, it's not gaining traction. It's almost like this feels futile. This feels like it's not working. And with the closing square, what that Saturn in Pisces is bringing up is that in 7 years, Saturn is going to be in Gemini and is going to be structuring and creating something new. So I feel like the closing square for planets in Gemini is reminding you to stay light, to stay open, to think short term, to not expect something to be the final answer or the long-term project. Rather, enjoy the moment. Enjoy what lifts your energy right now. And if it's not connecting or it's not coming together exactly as you planned or how you thought it would, learn to be lighter with that. Learn to open it up and to not be overly fixated on the details or the specifics, because those things are going to keep changing. It could feel like it's hard to get a plan together because all the variables keep changing. And this is where you'll have to relax the mind. Do something to take a break from overthinking or just being aware of the anxiety, the worry, if anything's keeping you up at night. There's things here that you're actually meant to tap into outside of the mind. Drop into the body, ground in to what your body is feeling. Trust the movement of the body and any forms of release that support you with that movement. The square from Saturn in Pisces is a slowdown. And this is where you can have those blocks. Where previously, when Saturn was in Aquarius, it was easier to move something forward, a bigger project, a community idea, something that was calling to you, that you were ready to express. You were really wanting it to move forward. It brought in new people. It had lots of energy to it. Now the Saturn square is asking you to refine the plan, let go, get rid of some things. Look at where maybe you took on too much. Maybe there's too much going on and you need to streamline it. So that would be an effective way to work with Saturn and Pisces squaring those planets in Gemini, is to, again, not overthink it and to not think you have to figure it out, because what you're meant to do is release what you were planning and allow something else to come in, but it will come in probably clearer and stronger once Saturn gets into Aries. And so there could be something in your world that you feel you're just floating through and you're learning to navigate any delays, challenges, or frustrations. Now, Saturn in Pisces working with planets in Cancer. This could be something that emotionally supports you now. Those Cancer energies have been dramatically transformed after the intense opposition from Pluto in Capricorn, plus when Saturn was in Capricorn as well in December 2017 until 2020. So there was a span of time here that you've really been in it. You've really been through it. And it's been really intense for those internal Cancer energies that have felt exhausted, wrung out, perhaps even devastated, demolished, and really going through a lot with those oppositions from planets in Capricorn. Now we have Saturn in Pisces trining those planets in Cancer, and it's offering you support, understanding, knowledge, some wise reflections on what you were moving through, what you were maturing. That Saturn in Pisces trining planets in Cancer wants you to also practice greater detachment. This could also bring up empath energies, being highly sensitive, and new ways to work with that. Because Saturn wants you to have useful tactics. Saturn wants you to have strategies where, okay, when something gets to me, or when I'm feeling a lot of energy, a lot of emotions, what do I do with it? How can I be in charge of it? How can I own that part of myself? So this Saturn in Pisces is going to assist you in doing that. It is a private energy. This could be something you're working on behind the scenes, even something that you're working on through various healing modalities, energy work, perhaps even with a healer or a guide, because Saturn brings in our mentors. But there's something as well that is meant to support those planets in Cancer now. And you could feel that. You could feel a new emotional equilibrium. You could start to feel safe again, safe in yourself, safe in some areas of your life. You could feel like, okay, I can handle this. I can handle more than I thought I could. And that can bring a lot of peace to those planets in Cancer. So this Saturn transit in Pisces is quite beneficial for Cancer, and that is frankly well deserved after all the oppositions you've been through. But this is also a time to now take greater responsibility for your energy, taking responsibility for your feelings, your reactions, what you're sensing, taking responsibility for how to handle it and what processes support you when you get triggered or when something arises. This can also be great for family life, for your private world, your home. You could feel like, okay, I'm ready for some good energy here, or I really want to change things up or bring in something that is more relaxing and calming, that truly nourishes me now. And I hope that this also reminds you of your emotional power and strength. So this could be a time of that Cancer energy feeling more settled, calm, and peaceful. Now, Saturn in Pisces working with the Leo energies is an interesting dance between self and spirit, because that Leo energy is connected to the solar plexus, what you want, what you desire, what you want to create and be in charge of. And with Saturn in Pisces, there's a quincunx energy here, which is stepping aside from the ego, stepping aside from immediate desires and going into more of your God self, which the Saturn in Pisces represents. And so this can bring up challenges around what you need to surrender, but you don't want to let go of. This can be a real discomfort in some area of your life where there are endings, there's closures, there's things that are leaving and you don't want them to leave. Because again, that Leo energy has a strong sense of self. It is quite confident. It's here to make moves and to get things going, to really feel that the light of their life force is alive. But Saturn in Pisces could feel like a wet blanket. It's dampening the light. It's removing things that you don't want to be removed. And it brings up a potential power struggle between not only the ego self, but your intuition and what you're feeling. So there could be things here where those planets in Leo are learning how to step aside and actually connect with more of their vastness, more that's outside the solar plexus, more of your energy that is untapped potential in your unconscious, in your intuition, in your feelings. And to have to trust can be a path that is resisted, because also part of the Saturn in Pisces is what needs to close out, what needs to be completed, and the karma we have to look at, the lessons we reflect upon, the healing that's in front of us. It can bring up more in our emotional self and in our spiritual self that we didn't realize was there. There's also a slowdown in the energy. There's a slowdown that the fire signs don't always want and don't always welcome. So the planets in Leo could be struggling with, how do I surrender to this? How do I trust this? How do I allow this? And the key is to go bigger and to go higher, to go up into your God self that is trusting this absolutely, that can see the way forward, that knows that there will be good developments in the future, and that the sun will rise again as it always does. And that's something with Leo energy. Even when it's down, it will rise again, because that is how the sun interacts with our earth. So I feel that even though this could be a quieter phase for those Leo planets, where things could feel dull, things could feel soft or boring or uneventful, there's something that Saturn in Pisces wants you to reflect upon and to honor. There's wisdom here, and it's preparing you for when Saturn enters Aries. And that's when things will really come to life again. There's new fire, there's new excitement, motivation, new ideas, and creativity. But this could feel like those planets in Leo. It's like I'm just seeing there's less life force, and that's okay. Even though we hate it, right? Even though the ego doesn't want it or the mind thinks there's something wrong, Saturn in Pisces is tapping you into more of the wisdom in the quiet moments. And this could be a time as well to look at your emotional body, to check in with how you're handling that, and to make sure you're taking care of yourself and that you're still doing what you can in the present moment, because that is one way to maintain control over your life force, to look at habits, to look at things in the unconscious that you go to, the escapism tendencies, or what seems like, oh, this will lift my energy or this will make me feel better. There's something here to just become wiser about and to notice if this is serving me or not. Now, Saturn in Pisces is going to be opposing the planets in Virgo. And honestly, this is a life-changing energy to those planets in Virgo. This is a turning point, and it's a turning point from what originated 14 years ago, which is when Saturn was in Virgo. And this is where Saturn in Pisces is requiring the Virgo energies to stop putting energy into things that aren't working. It's not bringing results. It's not the path. It's not connected to what you want to contribute. There's something that could feel like it's falling apart. It's no longer effective. And part of that Virgo drive is to make it better. Okay, let me try this. Let's go this angle. Let's try this. And there's a desire to keep working. Like, I'll work harder. I'll work harder. But it could feel like even the harder you work, the less results come about, the less that's accomplished, the less that moves forward. Almost like it's a losing cause. It's futile. Nothing's happening here. And that opposition from Saturn in Pisces is asking you to step back and trust. Trust what needs to complete. Trust what's no longer effective for the long term. Trust what's no longer a use of your energy, the best use of your energy. And there's also something here where Saturn wants you to look at, is this serving you? Are you a part of the equation? Are you getting results from this? Or are you working yourself to the bone? Are you overdoing it with no recognition or reward? Are you putting more into something? It's like a money pit of something where it's going in, but it's not coming back. There's a lack of reciprocity, and that might be in something tangible such as money, but that could be in something energetic. This is also checking in on your health. And what are you investing in? Is it serving you? Is it still working for you? Or is it time to change it up? So the opposition from Saturn is always a toughie. And I just want to call it like it is. And I hope that's validating that it's part of a bigger cycle. It's part of a bigger cycle for you to understand how things are meant to change. And you are a mutable sign. Those Virgo energies are mutable signs. So they're designed to bob and weave and adjust and look at a different approach or a new way to improve a system or to make something better. But Saturn in Pisces is saying it's time to end. It's time for it to go. It's time for it to be over because something has served its purpose. It has run its course, and you might only be making yourself exhausted or sick or worn out or anxious by overdoing it. So check in with yourself, of course. Check in on how this is feeling and what you're seeing, because the Virgo energy is actually really good at also being able to dial it back. Do less. Come back into yourself, come back into your body. What can you manage? What can you step back from and trust? Instead of overthinking, overdoing, overapplying, this is the opposite. And that Saturn in Pisces wants you to actually put yourself first and to not think you have control. And that can be hard, especially for the very diligent Virgo energy. So there's something that can feel quite powerless here, but it's all part of a bigger cycle and a grander understanding that it's time to pull back so that you can see it in a new light. You can see it in a new way. Now we move to planets in Libra. And the Saturn in Pisces energy is also forming a quincunx, which is the same as the energy that Saturn in Pisces is forming to Leo planets. So Saturn in Pisces making a quincunx to planets in Libra brings up what is not flowing, what is out of alignment, where there are energies that you're feeling, do I talk about this? Do I not talk about this? What choice do I make? I don't know. I don't know what to do about this connection, this partnership, this situation. And that's because Libra brings in the other, brings in other people that we interact with, other people in our lives, the connections we have. And this is where you could be realizing there's less energy here. This isn't working. We're not on the same path. We're not going in the same direction. We have different values or different things that are in front of us right now. Now, that doesn't mean every relationship ends. That's not what it means. It means adjustments need to be made. And as I say that, I'm getting the visual of taking a car into the mechanic. What needs to be repaired here? Where do we need a tune-up? What is not working? Is this transmission going to last? Is there big engine work required here? How's that timing belt looking? And Libra is actually gifted with bringing in other opinions and having someone observe a situation from a detached way. So Saturn in Pisces could be challenging some of those Libra planets connections, but showing you what needs to be repaired. And will it be repaired? Can it be? Is the cost too high? Do you want to put a brand new transmission in a 1985 Corolla? So there's things here that you're looking at with others. And there's a part of your intuition, which is Saturn in Pisces, giving you some messages that might take time to, like, you have to sit with it. Takes time to make a decision. Takes time to figure it out. Takes time to trust it. And you could be sensing that. You could be sensing, okay, I don't know that we have much in common. I don't think this is going in the right path. I don't think there's energy here between us like there used to be. And this is not simply in personal connections. This can be with colleagues and clients. This can be with people you interact with one-on-one. There could be things coming up that, again, it's not working and you want to maybe talk it through. Find a common ground. Seek some new solutions, new approaches. And there's also something here where Saturn in Pisces is asking you to look at, is this karmic? Is this healing? Is this a pattern that you're phasing out or ending? Or is this something where you're understanding your own spiritual growth here? You're taking responsibility for how you've shown up in that connection, in that friendship, in that partnership. Is there something here that you've been deeply learning at a spiritual level? And what is it? So this is also a discomfort through the quincunx with Saturn in Pisces to planets in Libra, as there are new understandings or revelations around these personal interactions. Now, Saturn in Pisces is working favorably with planets in Scorpio. And this is actually a lovely gift because previously when Saturn was in Aquarius, it was squaring those planets in Scorpio. And that could have been incredibly frustrating And there could have been a lot that was churned up in you, a lot that you were frustrated about that wasn't getting going, that wasn't going anywhere. And it could have felt like those blocks, which happens when we have a Saturn square. Now, Saturn in Pisces is trining the Scorpio planets, helping you understand what to do with that passion, that drive, that ambition, giving you also an opportunity to sit with things to ensure that you're not simply staying on the same path, but that you can detach a bit. You can step back and see the bigger picture. That is another intention with Saturn and Pisces. What was I learning through that exchange, through that connection? And that's because Scorpio is where we merge. Scorpio is where we deep dive into what you were really feeling, what was really below the surface. Was it anger? Was it hurt? Was it shame? It's where we dive into more of how we're programmed unconsciously so that we can understand it. I feel that this trine from Saturn and Pisces is giving you new awareness where you can see yourself, be like, wow, I was operating from a lot of anger, or I was operating from some childhood trauma. I'm going to change that. I'm responsible for that. I'm ready to do it differently. So this can be beautifully healing. This can also be really empowering, where you're taking responsibility for your emotional world, your emotional process. You also could feel like there's new things you're understanding about what you own, your financial energy, where you have connected to others. I'm feeling the energy of financial power, sort of like if finances have been a source of power for you, what is that bringing up? What are you seeing in a new light with that Saturn and Pisces? Where are you understanding, is that really my power, or was that a control mechanism of some kind? There can also be beautiful heightened intuition with Saturn and Pisces trining the planets in Scorpio, heightened intuition, new awakenings, supporting your ascension, allowing you to go higher, to go up into the higher realms of your God self, to see things that maybe were controlling you, that maybe were outside of you and had a lot of influence or a lot of impact. And now that Saturn in Pisces is showing you from a higher perspective how to do it differently, how to see it in a new light. It can be quite healing. This trine from Saturn and Pisces can be very healing for those planets in Scorpio. Now we move to planets in Sagittarius. And these are the energies that want to get moving, want to get going, want to go bigger. But Saturn in Pisces is applying a square. So planets in Sagittarius are now receiving an opening square from Saturn in Pisces. And it's an opening square. It's the first square from what that Saturn originally solidified and initiated back in 2014 to 2017. That's when Saturn was in Sagittarius last, which would have been formative for those planets in Sagittarius. This is an opening square that challenges the ideology, the beliefs that want you to strengthen something, but to incorporate more of your soul self, your God self, to incorporate more of your intuition, to slow down, take a pause, take a break. Sagittarius doesn't want to do that, wants to run loose, wants to be free on the open hills. And here we have a Saturn in Pisces, which could feel like you're waterlogged, like you're just stuck in something, and you're surrounded by the water. Pisces is the ocean. You're surrounded by something that you have to newly navigate. And so this is an opening square that is testing the Sagittarius ideals, the Sagittarius desire to roam and to typically be independent and do what you want. Now there's a block. Now there's a stop. Now you could feel like you're applying the brakes. And what this is, it's almost like your God self is knocking on the door and asking you to check in. Check in on where you're going. Does this involve everything? What have you left behind? What did you not see initially? What do you need to incorporate now? Also, where do you need to balance any of that initial excitement and drive and enthusiasm with greater trust that you're not doing it alone, that it's okay to be supported, and that Saturn in Pisces wants you to make sure that you're allowing the universe to support you through ongoing trust. And that's usually a big theme with planets in Sagittarius. Now, the thing with Saturn in Pisces is that it's also preparing you for what you're going to newly begin when Saturn is in Aries, which will start in 2025 and then fully begin in 2026. So Sagittarius doesn't like delays, doesn't like stop signs, and don't let it diminish your belief in yourself, which is probably what it's going to do because Saturn does that. But this is where you're learning to temper it. You're learning to work with universal forces from a new place of harmony and synergy. And you're also understanding that there's some things that now you're going to let go of. Because when you had the big start or that big, exciting, enthusiastic Sagittarius dream that began, now Saturn in Pisces is saying it's time to refine it, cut some things out, let it go. You don't have to do it all. You probably took on way too much, not knowing that you didn't need all of this. So there's things that you're going to have to leave by the wayside. You're going to be tossing some baggage out the train door. You're going to be maybe even fighting to keep it, giving it that old Sagittarius fire fight. I'm not going to let this go. But Sagittarius energy is learning that it's okay to do less. It's okay to sculpt and shape and reform something because it's actually going to be simpler and stronger when Saturn moves into Aries. So there are things that the Sagittarius energy needs to say goodbye to as part of this opening square from Saturn in Pisces. Then we move to planets in Capricorn. And this is actually a lovely support for those planets in Capricorn, which have been through a lot, drastic life changes, huge transformations, things that have probably been demolished to the ground. And now you're at a point of rebuilding, looking at new directions, new goals, new ambitions. And the Saturn in Pisces sextiling these planets in Capricorn are going to help you take a break, to not think you have to do it all, to know that there will be support showing up behind the scenes, to also have you look at the work ethic that you've outgrown. And the planets in Capricorn will keep going, will keep moving ahead with determination and fortitude to climb that mountain, to scale the highest heights, to get to where you want to go. But the Saturn in Pisces energy is asking you to pace it, to temper it, to give yourself some weekends off, to not overdo it, not overpush it. In fact, to look at what you've outgrown in your own approaches to living a life that matters to you, and what you have refined and what you've understood is no longer a part of your values, is no longer a part of what you want, and that it's okay to step back. It's okay to allow others maybe to take something on, or to not think you have to keep carrying the burden of everything. So I feel that this Saturn in Pisces is your silent support system. It's happening behind the scenes, and it's probably something you're feeling. It's that nudge you're getting that the Capricorn energies can take a break. Things aren't going to fall apart, and it's okay to have fun. It's okay to do something that takes care of you, that allows you quiet time and reflection. And that could be something too that you are sitting with, or at least those planets in Capricorn are seeking, is I just need some time to be in this energy, to be with myself, to take a break, to listen, and to be more receptive. So allow that to support you. Allow the energy of Saturn and Pisces to gift you with more of your own wisdom, more of the own messages you have from your God self, and to know that there's things happening behind the scenes that are working with you, are working for you. This could also be a new dream that you want to realize, and you're getting those downloads, and you're getting that sense of, I can do this. This is what it is for me, but it's quiet. It's like a quiet message or dream or insight that comes through that then fuels that Capricorn drive and that Capricorn sense of purpose. I also feel the Capricorn energies are going to be in higher alignment with their intuitive abilities and in a new sense of purpose that connects to your soul. A new soul purpose connection is very possible with this Saturn in Pisces sextiling those planets in Capricorn. Now, planets in Aquarius. So you just had Saturn conjunct those planets in Aquarius from 2020 until early 2023. And planets at the very early degrees, 0 and 1 degrees of Aquarius, had the energy of the great conjunction when both Saturn and Jupiter were conjunct there in the early degrees of Aquarius. Well, now the energy has moved from the strength of the collective, of the mind, of the logic, into your intuition and asking you to check in on how's that going? How are those planets in Aquarius with a very strong mental capacity, understanding that you also have access to more intuition and to drop into the feelings? And this could feel foreign at first. Of course, it depends on your chart, as is the case with all of these, is that even though you have planets in Aquarius, maybe you have strong planets in Pisces as well. So you're already learning to sync up those parts of your energy systems. Well, now Saturn in Pisces is asking you to look at what you need to surrender and let go of, what is no longer of use, even if initially you thought it was. So there's something here that is the letting go of a big plan. It is maybe making something smaller or letting go of certain parts that you thought would be essential. Maybe there's things here that aren't working and you're realizing it's not worth the time, energy, or effort. I don't want to put more resources or money into this. I'm going to take a few steps back and look at this and not force it, to not stay locked into what I thought it had to be. And the Aquarius planets can be very fixated on that. It's a fixed air sign. So there's a vision you had or something that you were really excited and passionate about, and you were ready to go there. Now Saturn in Pisces is asking you to detach a bit, step back, allow some things to fall away, because by the time Saturn goes into Aries, it's actually going to refuel that vision. It's going to give you a new sense of what will work better or something even more in alignment with what you truly want. Where if you thought, okay, I'm doing this for everyone, which can be a part of the Aquarius energy, you're doing it for something bigger than yourself. And maybe you're also understanding, but that's not enough, or there's still an emptiness here. Saturn in Pisces is tuning you into what is the emptiness, what is the karmic loop, what is the healing that I need to change and shift so that I can do perhaps version 2.0 when Saturn goes into Aries. So this is an interesting energy for planets in Aquarius, because Saturn in Pisces could be creating a semi-square with those planets in Aquarius. And a semi-square, again, is a block. It's a frustration. It's something tangled up that you have to untangle the wires here. I also feel like that Saturn in Pisces is wanting you to make sure that it's in spiritual alignment, that it's not just something you're thinking about only in the mental space, that it actually drops into the heart. It honors the fullness of your energy. So that can be a strong theme here as Saturn moves through Pisces and interacts with those planets in Aquarius. And now finally, we will talk about planets in Pisces. Well, this is a big deal for you, to have Saturn in your own sign, to have Saturn in the sign of Pisces coming through, making those exact conjunctions to planets in Pisces for the first time since the mid-1990s. So 1993 to 1996 would have been important years for planets in Pisces. Some kind of real world circumstances or events came into your reality. You had to deal with it. You had to make life choices, life decisions. That's what Saturn wants. How are you creating your life? How are you structuring it? And how are you taking responsibility for what's in front of you? And sometimes those Pisces planets, they want to push things away. I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'll look at it next Wednesday. The procrastination, delays, not being interested, wanting to escape it can come up. But Saturn requires you to deal with things front and center. And so this means that the Pisces energies have to get some things done, have to take it on, have to see it through. You could have things coming up for you that are quite serious, quite important, and will make an impact based on what you decide. So this is a life-changing transit for you. It also signifies endings, things that you're aware of that, yeah, this isn't working for me anymore. It doesn't resonate. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. And that can be the endings that we choose, as well as the endings that just come about that we feel powerless over. So this is where Pisces has a beautiful opportunity to practice surrender, to look at grief or grieving or loss as something that you're here to master and move through with grace and ease for yourself. This can also be where you make some powerful choices in your life that you're ready to claim. This can be really good stuff, okay? I know that it sounds a little bit doomy and dreary at first because Saturn wants you to take a good hard look at some things and to be in control of it, to honor your power, to honor that this is your journey. You get to choose. You get to decide. So what are you choosing? And what is essential to you? And what do you really want to experience in your reality? Because you can create a new dream with this transit. When you do the work, when you're ready to go, when you're realistic around timelines, around effort, around what's involved, Saturn will help you with that. Saturn can help you get something off the ground. It can help take you forward to that next level. It requires the diligent work. It requires showing up, even though that Pisces energy will want to disappear and you can't find them on a Friday afternoon and you can't find them again on Monday. This is where Saturn is like, I'm going to hold you to this. I'm going to require you to clock in and clock out. But that's how we get it done. That's how we build this dream. That's how we move it forward. So Saturn in Pisces is working powerfully with those Pisces planets. And it's a time of new life decisions and directions that will begin with this cycle for you. So yes, there's endings. And that could have been something that you really were working through in 2023 if you have planets or points between 0 to 7 degrees of Pisces. Well, here comes Saturn again in 2024, covering that terrain, but asking you to do it differently. And so sometimes Saturn in Pisces, it brings about two opportunities. One that you say yes to, one that you say no to. One that you let go of, one that comes through. Pisces is a sign of duality. And so you could start something from your ego, but if you're disconnected from your spiritual purpose or your spiritual power, it won't work. Pisces wants you to integrate your sense of self, that healthy ego, that strong mind, your strong skill set, your artistic flair, your creativity, your imagination. You incorporate all of that into your spiritual power, into your soul's essence. And that is a solid yes. Saturn is right behind that. Saturn is ready to go. Saturn is like, here's the plan. This is the strategy. This is what you need. So part of the Pisces assignment right now is to be integrating not only your physical reality, but also making sure it's in alignment with what you feel are your soul gifts, your soul purpose, and how that is designed to move forward now. Again, it is the beginning of a brand new 30-year cycle, but chances are you have to let something go first. Something that's run its course, something that has exhausted you, something that is no longer bringing about what you want. And this could also be a time when you're making more mature decisions and you find yourself saying yes in ways you would have said no, or vice versa. So this can be really beautiful energy for those Pisces planets, depending on how willing you are to work with the themes of Saturn. I mean, this is when people get married. People have kids. They move to new places. People create a new life for themselves, but that requires letting a previous version of their life go. You could be changing professional industries. You could be more sure of yourself, more aware of who you are and your gifts and your talents. So there's something being strengthened here, but you've got to be in your Pisces power, not in the energy of victim consciousness or powerlessness or blame or any of the lower expressions. Every astrology sign has higher and lower expressions. And this is where Saturn says, great, we're going to do this. Here we go. And off you go to stabilize it, cement it, and give it a strong foundation. So I hope this has helped you understand the bigger themes of Saturn and Pisces. I mean, really, you could go through your whole chart and look at every planet in every astrology sign and start to piece together some of these themes that Saturn and Pisces is bringing up. Of course, it gets quite dynamic and complicated, so that is an exercise for those of you who are more intermediate or advanced. But overall, I hope this helped resonate with what you might be feeling or experiencing already and how to make the most of it as we move through this transit. I will be back with another podcast on Saturn and Neptune together in Pisces because that's a really big deal, and I'll have that episode for you here soon. If you'd like to learn more about transiting planets, I have an online course where I show you how to work with transiting energies in your chart. This is perfect for those of you who are beginners and you're ready for that next level. We go through each transiting planet, the cycle it makes. So that's transiting Mars and Mercury, transiting Saturn, transiting Uranus, transiting Chiron, how they move around your chart, the significance of them as they move between signs and between houses, and how you can start to see the cycles you are in at this time. So do check that out, as the course is 50% off when you use coupon code TRANSITS. And it's designed to come back and look at it again and again because it can take time to learn this astrology stuff. Not going to lie, it takes time. But I hope this is a good tool and resource for you to turn to understand more about your own chart. As always, thank you so much for joining me as we move through these big astrological energies together. I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new podcast episode and wishing you the very best as we experience these Saturn and Pisces energies together. Take good care, and I'll see you back here soon.